a gentleman that's a 3-time SEC Coach of the Year, 19 years as a college football coach, a 584 win percentage, and an analyst now for CBS Sports Network, studio analyst, and also for Sirius XM College Sports Nation. Houston Nutt joins us here on the News Sentinel Sports page. Coach Nutt, Vince Ferrara, and John Adams. How you doing this morning, Coach?
Doing good this morning. How y'all doing?
We are great, Coach. And by the way, how's this TV and radio experience being now on the other side in the media? How's that been for you?
You know, I really appreciate CBS for allowing me the opportunity to watch a lot of football and get to talk about it. That's been good. You always miss a little bit after about 30 years of football. Of course, you miss having the team. Of course, you miss competing, and, of course, the celebrated locker room.
Houston, you mentioned all that experience. I know you love coaching. I've had a very good career at it. Do you want to get back into coaching at some point?
I would like to, John, if the situation's right, and the schools feel like it's a good fit. I would love to make one more run.
Well, I think you've got some. At the end of every season, there are a lot of people shopping around, and I would think working for CBS keeps your name out there, gives you visibility.
Well, I hope so. And you said one thing that's so true. See, like there's a few more changes after the end of each year.
There's a lot of that going around, Houston.
Yeah. Everybody wants to win yesterday.
Houston, when you've always been an offensive guy, mainly known for offense. So that's been your area of expertise. What's going on now offensively in college football? I know everything goes in cycles, and we'll see the offense will be ahead of the defense, and the defense will come up with something. There will be a transition, something new will come up offensively. It's kind of an ongoing chess game. But what's happening now in offense? Is the defense?
That's a good question.
Well,
the one thing I do in the spring is go around the different schools and watch and kind of see what's going on. And the biggest thing right now, and you see this thing kind of trickulating into the NFL, is the up-tempo, hurry-up, fast-paced offense. And, you look at RG3, Russell Wilson. You look at some of these guys, even on that level, that have just done a tremendous job, and they're trying to mix in some of the things. Look at San Francisco and some of the things they did with the pistol from Chris Alt's group out there at Nevada. And you just see, when you look at Oklahoma State, I went to Oklahoma State, for example, and it looked like just looking at their athletes, they lost last spring when I went to visit, they lost to Justin Blackman. They lose a Whedon. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how are they going to be able to score any points? But I tell you what, they just put the defense in such a bind. It limits their substitution. The ball's ready. You better be ready because they're trying to get a playoff in every 12, 14, 15 seconds. Of course, Chip Kelly has just been a master at this thing and has done a tremendous job at Oregon. And now I'm really anxious to see how that works in Philadelphia. And so to me, if you just say what's the biggest change, I would say that would be the biggest change. Baylor, Art Briles has done a tremendous job. Of course, Kevin Sumlin, phenomenal. So you just see a lot of schools that have gone to that up-tempo.
Houston, I remember years ago talking, I asked this to both Mack Brown and Watson Brown, two offensive guys, and looking ahead and what they thought would be the ideal offense. And they always said a spread offense that you could throw out of with also using option principles. And basically that's kind of what we have going on now. And I'm just wondering, set aside the tempo, I'm wondering how is the defense going to be able to shut this stuff down where you're throwing the ball, you're spreading the field, and you're running option principles too?
That's the question. That's what makes it so tough and so difficult because it slows you down defensively. It slows you down. And what I mean by that is when you mention option, all of a sudden here comes some thinking, okay, who has the dive? Who has the quarterback? Now, is it a fake? Is he going to throw after all this faking and as if he's going to run and he pulls up and throws the football? All those things requires a lot of integrity as far as gap integrity, responsibility, and makes you think. And to me, it slows the defense down just a little bit. And you're exactly right. When you spread that formation from sideline to sideline, get some one-on-one matchups, then, oh, by the way, don't forget we could be running option.
Visiting with CBS Sports Network analyst Houston Nutt, 3-time SEC Coach of the Year. Arkansas and Ole Miss stops in 19 years of college football coaching here on the new Sentinel Sports page. Vince Ferrara and John Adams. Coach, I want to talk some recruiting with you. Obviously, Ole Miss was the story in recruiting in the 2013 signing class, and Hugh Freeze, I saw, rightfully, I think, gave you some credit for that signing class. Talk about that Ole Miss signing class and then the things you deserve some credit for, and getting Denzel Kendichi on that roster, Robert's brother, and also the placement of the JUCO player in Levon Hooks as well.
You have to give Hugh Freeze and the staff a tremendous amount of credit, because they did a job. They really finished. And as you know, John, it's very, very competitive, and so, so passionate with recruiting these athletes all the way to February, the first Wednesday in February. But where they got a head start is when we signed Denzel. Denzel's the older brother of Robert. And Denzel's a very good player, and I remember Mike Markson recruiting that is in Atlanta area, Grayson High School, I believe, and it was really after signing date, and Denzel had just became eligible, and so I called Mark Rick. I said, Mark, what's the story with Denzel? And he said, well, he's a good player, but we were already full, and he wasn't qualified at signing date. And so we let him go, but he said, have you seen his brother? And I said, well, not really. And so we'll go back and watch the film, and you'll find him in a hurry. And sure enough, Denzel had been telling Coach Markison all along that my brother is for real, and he's going to be the number one player in the country. And, we hear that a lot. But you go turn on the film, and this guy is 6'4", 6'5", and he's so disruptive coming off the edge, like a Julius Peppers in high school, And I'm not saying he's Julius Peppers right now, but when he walks in the locker room, he is not going to look like a freshman freshman coming out of high school. He's going to look like a junior in college. But what he did, though, Robert and Denzel, these guys really became ambassadors and really became recruiters. And good players love to play with good players, and it became contagious, and there was an attitude there, especially when you win. There's some good young players there at Ole Miss, and there's a good feeling when you win a bowl game. There's nothing like it. And so they got this momentum, and really things were lined up right for them.
Houston, you look at the SEC now, and I know it's all very subjective, and it's hard to evaluate recruiting classes. But what you're seeing now are all these SEC schools are recruiting pretty well. I mean, even Kentucky with a new coach and a bad season was in the top 30 in one recruiting service analysis. Has it gotten to the point now more than ever where you can, no matter what school you're at in the SEC, you can recruit a player to a conference as well as a school because so many guys want to play in the best conference?
No question about it. And right now the SEC is really on a run. Nick Saban, of course, has won 4 out of the last 5 recruiting titles and then held up the crystal ball 3 out of the last 4 years. And so, that says a lot. And of course, now you add a Texas A&M to the equation, and Johnny Football's rolling, and they're winning games, and Florida's getting better. Will's done a good job there. The old ball coach continues to do a good job, and even with recruiting, you look at his players, they've gotten better. Georgia was in the championship game and played Bama toe-to-toe and really was 5 yards away or 5 seconds away, even however you look at it. But you're right, though, John. You got to give Vanderbilt a lot of credit and Kentucky a lot of credit because that SEC brand right now is really, really powerful.
Houston Nutt joining us here on the new Sentinel Sports page. Coach, in talking about recruiting, talk about the art of flipping commits. We are seeing that at unbelievable levels right now, especially, as you know, with all the competition in the SEC. I think Auburn flipped 9 guys. I think Butch Jones and this staff, who I want to get your comments on a little bit, I think they flipped 9 guys and had 10 others move on to other locations. Talk about that in recruiting a guy that's already committed to another school.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I don't miss right there is because when you have a young man committed, I remember 15 years ago, we'd shake hands in that living room, everybody's hugging each other. Once we had a commitment, we felt like as long as we stayed in contact, do the due diligence of that assistant coach being there each week, we're going to be good. We got a commitment, and you could count it off. But what happens is it's almost like when somebody is committed, all of a sudden the pressure turns up. There's a competitive spirit there that goes to another level where that coach says, okay, all this did was just put a bullseye on this recruit because we're fixing to go as hard as we can go and really prove to them this is where they belong to go to school. And the flip-floppers, I wish they would do this. I wish you would do a study on what happens to the flip-floppers. And I'm talking about the ones that flip from one school to the other, not once, not twice, maybe 3 times, and see what kind of career. The one thing I appreciate a guy like, say, Darren McFadden, who could have gone anywhere in the country, he knew when my brother went in that living room, he says, look, I want to be a Razorback. The ones, to me, that know where they're going and are truly committed, to me, they have the best careers in college. And so the flip-floppers are really, really, that's a tough, tough deal. And to me, you're right. There's more, and you hear more and more the last minute, last second. I've had it happen to me. And then what it does is really disrupts your recruiting because you've already told 2 or 3 guys, hey, look, I've got my linebacker. Appreciate your interest, but now you need to go somewhere else. And that's what's hard about signing 25. I got in trouble for signing too many. But as long as you got to 25 by August, that was the rule. But 28 was the rule for 1 year, and then they dismissed that and said, look, you can only sign 25. Well, it's very, very hard if you ask any coach trying to do that math and keep all your eggs in a basket, and you don't know for sure, maybe 2 or 3 of them, who's going to qualify and who's going to flip-flop there at the end.
Houston, you mentioned Johnny Manziel earlier. He's one of the most spectacular players I've ever seen in college football. But if you would, put on your coach's hat again and put yourself in Kevin Sumlin's position. He's got this player, just phenomenal player, who's had tremendous success, already won a Heisman as a freshman, and he's also had some off-the-field stuff. He likes to have a good time. He's really in the public spotlight. I would think for a coach, for Kevin Sumlin now, there's going to be a little difficulty in managing Johnny Manziel and keeping him between the lines.
Absolutely. You're excited if you're Kevin Sumlin because you have a phenom. He's phenomenal. He really is. What he did against Alabama, in fact, that team, if you can believe, Texas A&M beat Alabama, as y'all know. But what he did with his legs and his arm is phenomenal. But you hit on something that's so important. I'm sure Kevin Sumlin's right on top of it. You worry about now all the attention. You already made mention that there's been some trouble before. He likes to have a good time. You made mention of that. I don't know the young man, but I do know this. Now, you lost your quarterback coach. It's so important that guy has a very, very close relationship with that quarterback who's going to have, can you imagine not having one interview all season long as a freshman? And now there's cameras every which way. And don't forget, now there's a phone camera, young man, anywhere you go at any time of the day, and they're watching. And so you're bigger than big. You're bigger than Texas right now. It's so important that you combine your humility and confidence and bottle that up the right way. And so that coach, that assistant coach especially, has to keep tabs on this young man every single day, really keep that relationship and let him understand that, hey, your last name is Manziel, but you are representing a whole lot of people right now, and all eyes are on you. And so it's very important you're representing your family, your immediate family, but also the Aggie family. And so it would be constant to me every single day, and also be very, very conscious of who's trying to be his friend right now.
Houston, you hit on a very good point there, and I just wonder, though, with Johnny Manziel, it seems like there would be a fine line there, because what really makes this guy so good, I think, is his confidence. He steps out there on the football field, and he just doesn't believe anybody's as good as he is. Alabama defense, doesn't matter. He thinks he's better than everybody out there, and he plays that way. So you don't want to discourage his confidence, but on the other side of that, if he thinks he's so good, he doesn't think he has to work as hard at it, that kind of thing. I would think it would be a balancing act.
Well, that's right. That's right. And again, you don't want to take anything. You want him to run for over 100 yards and throw for 300 yards like he's done just about every game and have all those phenomenal numbers, better than Cam Newton, better than RG3. You want all that, but you hit it. The bottom line is, hey, when it comes to off the field or when it comes in the weight room, you got to understand that there's 120 set of eyes that are watching you, and they're watching the way you talk, the way you walk, your attitude, your effort, and you can really, really help this locker room. And so it has to be managed. He has to be talked to, and hopefully he'll take this trophy that he just won and puts it behind him and say, you know what, that was special, but my teammates helped me get to this point, and now I want to win an SEC championship.
Houston Nutt joining us here on the new Sentinel Sports page. Last couple quick things with you, Coach. Talk about Butch Jones at Tennessee. What do you think of that, and what do you think of Butch Jones?
Well, just watching Butch from afar, I don't know him that well, but just watching, what he did at Cincinnati was really impressive. I always know it's tough when you come into a program and start recruiting in a different league, especially in the SEC. I thought he did a really good job because it's not easy. And also, with Tennessee, you have to recruit predominantly out of the state, with the states that touch Tennessee. But I thought he's done a really good job, put together a good staff, and anxious to see him put the team together and put the offense, defense, best thing, put the whole thing together.
Even with the recent issues and lack of success for Tennessee, where does Tennessee rank, do you think, as a college football coaching job? Where does that rank amongst those in college football, do you think?
Well, it's always been one of the best. Tennessee has such tradition. When you go back and look at the players and look at the names from Reggie White, you have tradition. And when you walk in the state, and the one thing I loved about coming to Knoxville is, oh, my goodness, the sea of orange. Never will forget my very first experience going in there in 92 as an assistant was something. But as a head coach going there in 1998 when Phil Fulmer had his group rolling, and, of course, that was the year that he won the game. I hate to think about it. That's the year that we put the ball on the ground there with about a minute and 30-something seconds left.
Yeah, no one remembers Clint Sterner, Coach. That's okay.
But it's just the Coliseum. It's the facilities. It's the tradition. And they've won there before, so there's no question. That's going to take great recruiters. And, I mean, not just good recruiters. And recruiting now is going 24/7. It's not seasonal. It's year round, and of course with social media and all the new rules now, it's such a full-time deal. But to answer your question, to me, it's still one of the top jobs in the country.
Coach, we really appreciate your time. Great work, and moving into the media on television and on Sirius XM, and hopefully we can catch up with you again soon.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Coach. Houston Nutt, getting it done. CBS Sports Network and studio analyst, and also helping out doing radio for Sirius XM College Sports.